She was a wild one, a dreamer, a wide-eyed believer, a rocket in the night. It was a slow dance, a bad song. I told her, just hold on till they play something we like. And she said, hey, where are we going? I said, we're already gone. And she said, hey, where are we going? I said, we're already gone. A cable car, street lights on Mars. This is the start. Falling so hard here in the dark. This is the start, even if we don't know where we are. Even if we don't know where we are. Even if we don't know where we are. Streets of gold, no metaphor. Tripping on fields of marigold. And we wanna live forever. Holding on in our ecstasy. And she said to me, promise not to wake me if it's all a dream. Yeah, we both belong together. And I said, hey, where are we going? She said, we're already gone. A cable car, street lights on Mars. This is the start. Falling so hard here in the dark. This is the start, even if we don't know where we are. Even if we don't know where we are. Even if we don't know where we are. Okay, blue car, street lights on Mars. This is the start, even if we don't know where we are. Falling so hard here in the dark. This is the start, even if we don't know where we are.
You're listening to the RMPodcast, the official podcast of Red Moon Productions. Here are your hosts, Brandon Davidson, Keith Cheatham, and Sean Sebastian. Enjoy.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Red Moon Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host,
Sean Sebastian.
and Keith Cheatham. We're back, guys, for another fun-filled week here. Yes, on the Red Moon Podcast. As we were getting the show started here, y'all were having a very lively discussion.
Well, I don't know if you'd call it lively.
Well, we don't have our
It's
television
passionate.
segment anymore, but
No.
y'all were talking everything Game of Thrones. It's coming to an end.
Don't need a
Yes.
television segment when you have multimedia. It covers
True,
it all.
that's true,
True.
I guess. But how are y'all feeling?
Well,
Mixed feelings.
yeah.
Yeah.
Not too good.
Yeah. I mean, it's a long time coming, but,
Yeah.
Game of Thrones is finally coming to an end. It's got about an hour and a half left this coming Sunday. And I'm not feeling too confident that it's going
can
to
wrap it up.
wrap things up the way that most people would like.
I think we're both agreed that it's definitely felt rushed. We differ on a few things, but I mean, my feeling is I don't mind some of the plot points and decisions they've made with characters, but I feel like they haven't given enough time to reach those plot points. It's
Right.
like if you had built up to it a little bit more, to make it more believable, it's fine. But it just kind of feels like because they're ending it and they know they only have this much time to end it, that everything's just like boom, boom,
Right.
like and it's when earlier seasons, take entire seasons for them to just do like one thing to accomplish one goal, and now you have like 8 or 9 different like story like plot points happening in just 6 episodes. It's like it's just feels a lot more rushed. It doesn't feel as natural as
I feel like everything that's happened so far, like maybe even in the first 3 episodes, could have been a whole season by itself.
I
almost wish it was going 9 seasons so that they would just flesh all of this out a little bit more. But I mean, I know, and we kind of mentioned it before, that the writers of Game of Thrones are the new confirmed writers of the next 3 Star Wars.
I was going to say, do you think that has anything to do with them either speeding
so
things
we're
up?
getting away from TV to talk about movies, but I do think that has something, because that Star Wars is bigger money than Game of Thrones. Don't get me wrong, Game of Thrones is one of it is maybe the biggest subscription television
it's
show.
definitely the reason people
definitely.
have tuned in to HBO or
Right,
bought a
right.
subscription to HBO over the last 7-8 years.
Yeah,
But the
absolutely.
thing is, though, is with them moving into the Star Wars territory, it's funny because I think, as we see one huge franchise end, that's kind of like, it's kind of weird, but it's like, are they really,
I think is I know
thinking about that being their next foray?
I know that they can make it amazing because like Game of Thrones for so long was so amazing.
Oh, yeah.
My worry is like, well, if y'all got bored with Game of Thrones and wanted to move on to the next thing, are we going to get to the last movie of your trilogy and y'all are just like, I
good
need to
question.
get this done and move on to the next thing? I
Right.
don't know. And I mean, I trust them for the most part still, but
I was gonna say, I think that's speculation.
it
I
is.
don't,
Oh,
I
yeah,
really don't
no,
think.
no, I'm
but-
not. Trust me, I'm much happier with them doing this trilogy than Ryan Johnson doing.
Oh,
his
yeah,
trilogy.
yeah.
absolutely.
But
absolutely.
part of the petition that's online right now to have season 8 remade, which is just not possible.
No, the HBO's not. Gonna do
They're not going to do it. But it has brought up questions from fans as to should these guys be the ones writing Star Wars if they're doing such a terrible job wrapping the show up, which I don't believe that it's terrible. I do believe that it has fallen short. The last season, the last episode for me kind of, I was hooked the first couple of episodes.
The second episode of this season was one of the best episodes of Game of Thrones ever. And because it was a slow episode, it was all about character development, and it was so good. And it's like, see, if you all had expanded the season, not tried to wrap it up in 6, even though some of the episodes are longer, but given that much of depth and character growth that you put into that second episode throughout the entire season, it would have been, I think, like a perfect ending. But it was just odd, I guess, that they.
Well, there's a lot that they throw into that hour and a half, which I would rather, like you said, give you the normal hour episodes and let us have a week to stew it over, and before the next episode. But they're fitting so much stuff into one episode that I don't think you can fully process all of it like you would if you had that week in between.
So wait, do you
shorter
think
episodes.
after this, even when it's all said and done and everybody's complaints have died down, do you think that maybe given some time after you go back and revisit these 6 episodes,
it's
you'll
possible.
be satisfied?
It's like, I know once it's all the way wrapped up, me and Keith both agree we're going to rewatch the whole thing.
Yeah.
But I'm not confident that everything is going to wrap up as well as I think it deserves.
One of the doubts I guess fans have right now is the fact that all of the seasons that fans have loved that agree are super amazing are all the ones that they had the books to go off of.
Right.
So people, the fear with the Star Wars thing is fans are like, when you all had source material to work off of,
you could
you
really
were
deliver.
great.
Yeah.
But now that you don't have that source material, it seems like you're falling. So now fans are kind of worried. It's like, is your writing ability not so good that if you don't have source material,
That's
you can't?
actually not a bad.
So that's
that's a pretty good worry.
It's
I
like-
think that it's. I mean, hopefully, depending on how this
Hopefully
last
we're
episode
wrong, but
shapes up,
Yeah.
people will have that right to be concerned.
But it's like, can you
Absolutely.
only deliver when you have something to work off of?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And obviously, this is all
Speculation,
This is
yeah.
all Martin's fault for not finishing.
Really, it is.
Yeah, if he would have finished the books, then we would have source material,
Maybe
and our
that's
last
what it
season
is.
would be good.
Maybe that's what they're doing. Geniusly, they're just saying, you know what? We're forcing his hand. We're going to make it so
it's
bad
not
at the
doing
end, and we're going to
anything,
piss off
so-
so many fans. And
He won't care. He's
yeah, he
just gonna
doesn't
sit
care
there and
anyway.
be
He
like,
still
you
gave him the
know-
liner notes anyway.
Yeah.
And they
Well,
still
he gave him an out. Here's my thing is, I think he's being smart. He gave him the outline to see how fans would react. He's like, oh, they don't like that. Well, that's going to. It's like, well, we're
I'm gonna
changing
rewrite
that.
Yeah.
It's like let's just change that part.
Yep.
Well, let's switch gears because there was another popular TV show that we were all fans of when we were growing up.
Was there?
Yeah.
Well, I was, but I
I
don't know about
wasn't.
Sean. Sean, yeah, I was a little,
No.
a little
I was
after
never a
your
fan.
time.
I
Yours
think
was
he's
like
a little older
Transformers.
at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Keith and I were definitely
Did
fans.
you say I was a little old at that point?
No, older.
Oh.
You
Older.
were. You were.
Dang.
I think during the '90s, you would have been too old to really get into Pokemon.
Yeah. I remember you all playing Pokemon.
Yeah, yeah.
On the Game Boy.
Now we've all like taken a chance at playing the games, and like they're
I never
addicting.
played anything on the Game Boy or
Really?
the DS. I've only played Pokemon Go.
Well, there you go. Then that's all you need. I mean,
all you
you
need.
got
That's it.
sucked in even just by Pokemon Go.
Well, I don't play it anymore, so I wasn't sucked in for very long.
No, but
No.
for
But-
everybody, it was all the craze.
was a huge
for the
film. Well,
longest time.
So what?
Pokemon has
There's
always been a
Is there a
massive
Pokemon
phenomenon.
movie now
True.
or something?
I don't know. I mean, there's
Huh.
been animated movies, but never a live action Pokemon movie.
That's true. That's true.
So
But
Keith,
there is now.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He reviewed it for us this week.
Well, I wrote a review that you can listen to you.
Deliver.
Deliver.
Yeah.
Oh.
So here is that review of Pokemon Detective Pikachu. The following is a review by Keith Cheatham. Films adapted from video games rarely are up to snuff. Likewise, films based on popular anime have also failed spectacularly. And again, live-action movies of popular children's shows haven't always been worthwhile. Now, however, we are treated to a family film that will actually manage to be a good adaptation of all three mediums, as this film pays homage to all of its iterations. This is Pokemon Detective Pikachu. Directed by Rob Letterman, director of 2015's Goosebumps, amongst other children's films, Detective Pikachu stars Justice Smith as Tim Goodman, a 21-year-old insurance salesman who has long given up his dream of becoming a Pokemon trainer after the death of his mother creates a rift in his relationship with his father. When Tim's father Henry tragically dies in a car crash, Tim travels to Rhyme City, where his father lived and worked as a detective, to take care of his funeral arrangements and possessions. While looking around Henry's apartment, Tim discovers Henry's partner Pokemon, a Pikachu, who has a knack for detective work. Tim soon learns he can understand what Pikachu is saying, and it just so happens Pikachu is voiced by none other than Ryan Reynolds. Now Tim, who has given up on his dream of being a Pokemon trainer, finds himself teaming up with Pikachu and taking off to solve exactly what happened to Tim's dad. Detective Pikachu is a fun ride for all ages, with plenty for kids to enjoy and tons of nostalgia packed in to satisfy older fans who grew up on the franchise. The film is chock full of wit and humor, aided by Ryan Reynolds, whose Pikachu is snarky and full of quips. Detective Pikachu is Deadpool for children, and it's not a bad thing at all. The film is full of nods to all aspects of the Pokemon franchise, even placing itself in the same continuity as the cartoon. This, in and of itself, offers a lot of interesting set pieces and plot devices as the film manages to nicely balance abstract concepts from the franchise with real-world sensibilities. Yes, there's quite a bit of camp and some cliches abound, but the film plays it all very tongue-in-cheek. Still, the film is a bit childish at times, but it's not without its heart-wrenching moments and clever plot twists. It's a bizarre mix of kids' film with adult tendencies, and never quite finds the perfect balance other children's movies such as Pixar films nail so greatly, but still, it works. It's funny, smart, and endearing, which is more than enough to satisfy any Pokemon fan. I give Pokemon Detective Pikachu 3 out of 4 stars.
Well, there you have it. 3 out of 4 stars. Sean actually saw it earlier today.
I did. I
and
did.
You give it, I think, a little bit lower. So
I went 2.5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, no, it's a solid movie. It's not, like I said, it's not the best. Like I said in my review, it doesn't quite nail that balance that really good family films can, where like there's parts of it that are sometimes a little too goofy for adults to enjoy, and then there's definitely good mature moments as far as with his search for his dad and what's going on there, and his relationship with Pikachu and his father. And there's definitely a lot of like that stuff that I loved, like when they talk about his mom and just the whole family aspect. It does have some good moral values and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, like I said, some of the campiness kind of plays into the series, and I enjoyed some of it because it kind of felt like the original show. And there's tons of callbacks to like everything from the card game, the video games, all of that. So it's definitely got the nostalgia factor.
I was going to say that was going to be my question. Unfortunately, have not seen it yet, but having grown up with it and, of course, being a fan of the card game, when I heard that there was continuity with the series.
Oh, yeah. They
not just the nostalgia of seeing.
They drop a few lines
Right.
that place it directly in the same world as the cartoon. So I'm like, that's cool that the fact that they mention things from the... And it's stuff, and it's not just like, I mean, they have newer Pokemon along with the original 150.
But do they stick with the main like
they
150?
Everybody
knows.
They have a nice balance of all of it in there, but like the main Pokemon it focuses on are from the original 150, and a lot of the references to the show come from like the original, like that first season with Ash and Kanto. So it's like kind of is built for anybody who's interested in Pokemon. It's easy to access. But if you're a fan from the very beginning, there's definitely things in there for you to recognize. And that was cool. I didn't mention in the review, one thing that was a little jarring at first is some of the CGI, which is more of an aesthetic choice. Like when you first watch it, it comes off a little bizarre, but it's because of what they're trying to accomplish. And it's not necessarily bad CGI. It's just once you it takes a little bit of getting used to.
Yeah,
but once you do, I'm like, yeah, this is fine.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it is. It's odd at first, but
they're kind of toony looking.
Yeah.
But then once you kind of settle into the film and you start to pay attention to some of the finer details, like Pikachu's hair.
Oh, yeah.
And some of the texture on. I noticed like the texture on the Bulbasaur's in their eyes and things. Like you start paying attention to the details.
The feathers on Psyduck, I thought were impressive.
You can see that they really did put the detail in there, but they did try to make the Pokemon look more like from Pokemon Go. You know, I mean, if you're used to playing it on a Game Boy or even the DS, you're looking at it in 2D.
Yeah.
Whereas on Pokemon Go or on your the game on the Switch, it's more three-dimensional and rounded edges, and they made it look a lot more like that
with real textures.
But real
so
textures.
It's
and
bizarre,
stuff. Yeah,
but
it's very cool.
But yeah, it is.
I was going to say,
cool.
to me, it just sounds like an interesting art choice.
It is. No,
Yeah.
it
It
is.
just seems like they
it's-
intentionally went the route of like, okay, we know these are cartoon
They
characters.
didn't try to make them look real.
Right.
They
Yeah.
tried to make them look like the games or the TV show, or I didn't even know there was a TV show, to be honest with you. But
You didn't?
no, I really
well,
don't
and
know
actually,
anything
it's
about
funny you
Pokemon,
say that
yeah,
because
so.
now nerdism here, nerdgasm. So the thing is actually the card game was developed. It was it was
The
developed.
card game was first.
First, right,
Yeah,
and then the show was developed after. So it's interesting that you say
I
that
think-
because it was only because of the card game
Yeah.
that it
I'm
became.
trying to remember which came first, the video game or the card game, because I think the
I think it was the video game.
I think the
It
video
was
game
the
was
video
the very
game
first.
that came 1st, and then it launched the card game and then the show.
Show.
All
Okay.
because of it.
And now there's Pokemon everything.
I mean, it's
but
phenomenal.
It
It's
is.
a-
It is.
yeah,
a
it's
massive
ridiculous.
phenomenon. But I felt, it's not a perfect movie, but as the first live action movie, especially a medium like I mentioned at the beginning of the review, which video games, anime, all that very rarely receive good live action adaptations. So it was just nice, I think, for the fact that even though it's not a perfect movie, it's still a solid movie. And I'm like,
Yeah.
they really nailed definitely for the fans. And I think, as a family film, it works well. I think anybody wanting to take their kid to see a movie, there's nothing wrong. Like I said, there's some
a couple of cuss words in it, but nothing.
yeah,
nothing.
nothing
Damn
real-
and hell is used a couple of times, but
Right.
and nothing real bad. And there's no like crassness. I mean, there is a
There's
few
a couple
like
of little innuendos,
but
but
stuff that'll fly
yeah.
over kids' heads.
Yeah.
Stuff that I thought was hilarious. I
Oh,
was
yeah.
laughing because I was like, I can't.
Well, isn't
didn't
it
quite
kind of
think
the
there was gonna be
point?
in
The
there.
point of these movies, though, a little bit, it's like it's just
Yeah.
like Pixar movies.
Oh, yeah,
and
it's-
everything.
it's-
I
you
mean,
gotta
have
entertain the adults,
tongue-in-cheek,
too, yeah.
And so it's like you
Well,
at
it's
least
nice
have that in
that
there.
they know that like
what their audience is.
original fans.
Yes.
It's nice that they're like, okay, we know people that loved it when it first started are going to be interested in this. Let's throw them something too. And in fact, the whole plot really is centered around, I think, people who grew up with it in the 90s, because the main plot and kind of like the main villain and the Pokemon he uses to accomplish his goal, I don't want to spoil anything, are all things that if you grew up in the 90s, you're going to instantly recognize. And that's part of the tie to the original show is that plot point. So I'm like watching this and I'm like, this is really cool, because I remember like I didn't get too far. Like as I got older, you know, I mean, I think I got as far as Johto in the show, and then I was like, okay, I'm done. Like, but I mean,
I think I watched like literally the first not season, but it was like the first main series of like him getting.
I think I
the
saw
8
all the way up to
badges,
like the
and that was
third
it.
animated movie, and then after
Right.
the third movie, I was like,
Yeah,
you know,
I mean,
yeah.
by that time we're getting to the point where we're like,
You
it's
starting
no
to
longer,
get
you're
into
trying to hide the fact that
That
you
you
even
like
pay
Pokemon
attention to
still.
Pokemon.
At that point, you're getting older. It's like, okay, it's not cool anymore. And then now that I'm adult, I'm like, no, this is awesome. I don't care.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, 'cause once you become an adult, you can like whatever you want. You know,
Yeah.
who
It's the
cares?
nostalgia
Yeah.
at that point, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was. I think for me that stuff it was really cool. Some of the acting is hit or miss sometimes, but I mean, for the most part, I thought it was mostly well done. I mean,
Yeah, Ryan Reynolds did a great job.
he was amazing. Yeah,
voicing that, which kind of makes me. I left the movie thinking, man, there's really, other than Green Lantern, there's nothing Ryan Reynolds can't do. Like, I mean, I think because even towards the end of the movie, there's some pretty emotional parts
Yes.
that I thought he nailed pretty well, and that's something that I'm not used to really seeing from him in
Yeah.
a lot of films. But his voice acting was great. Obviously, I kind of mentioned to Keith that I thought the Justice Smith, I thought his
character.
performance kind of started off a little lackluster, but as the movie progressed, I thought he progressed as well. And I know they don't shoot the movies in chronological order or whatever, but it just seemed like as emotions started to intensify and everything, he upped his performance a little bit where he needed to.
I think as he got meatier material, he definitely
he definitely got better.
But and then I told you some of it too. Like some of the like I agree, it maybe wasn't the best in the beginning. Some of the acting, but at the same time, some of it played into kind of some of that campiness from the original show. So like I was okay with it because there are certain parts that I'm like, if you'd seen the original show, because this isn't even as campy as.
So
that could
I mean,
be.
it seemed more intentional then that they were going
Some
with
of
the
it. I mean,
lackluster.
there's a few parts. Like I think I told you,
Yeah.
I can't think of the actress's name. The kind of the female
Newton?
character.
No,
That
Cynthia Newton.
some
Or
of
Cat- or what was
some of
it?
her stuff came across. I told Brandon outside the podcast as like a Disney Channel original movie. Like her character was just
Yeah.
kind of like written that way. So there was time, and I didn't mind her, but it definitely was. It was just like I said, it was definitely a stylistic choice. But even still, like as the movie progressed and they got into like Sean said, some of the meatier, more emotional moments, even she like delivered. So by the end of the film, like I was satisfied.
Yeah.
I thought, you know, as a children's film and a live action Pokemon film, I think it hit like everything that you're wanting it to hit.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you foresee because of this? And I mean, it was successful. It didn't edge out Avengers Endgame at the box
No,
office, which we
but-
weren't
Yeah, no,
expecting.
not
But
even
still-
close.
But for it to be a Pokemon film number 2 and still going strong, it's like, do we see maybe this as being
I think they'll.
the start of a franchise
I
with
think they'll
these live
attempt
action
something
Pokemon
else.
movies?
That was one of the issues I had with it, and I don't want to really spoil the end, but I felt like they really shot themselves in the foot for a sequel. It didn't make it
Yeah,
capable of having a sequel.
They wrapped it up to where a direct sequel to this would be almost impossible
Impossible,
without like some goofy like, oh no, this happened and now they're I don't know. I think they'll make more Pokemon movies, maybe not a direct sequel to
Right.
this.
Yeah.
Just because and it was odd because usually a movie like this, their immediate thought is if this makes money, we can milk it and make
Yeah,
a franchise.
yeah, exactly.
So it was really weird to see it kind of like
But do you think
definitively wrap things up in a way
Yeah.
that it's like, wow.
we would
they're-
definitely go a little more in depth, but with it just coming out, I don't really want to
Spoil
I don't
it.
want to spoil it, but I mean, maybe at some point we can kind of go into that a little deeper. But
yeah, there
I
is a plot
definitely-
twist kind of that
Yeah.
reveals in the way it wraps up. It's like it would be very hard
Yeah.
to at least have the dynamic of Justice Smith's character and Detective
Ryan
Pikachu.
Reynolds, yeah.
Ryan- like that
well,
wouldn't.
but even then, do you think maybe that was kind of the point of this film in the sense that they were maybe trying, I don't know, to get a feel, put
I
their
don't-
foot in the
I
water,
don't
but
know.
then
See,
at the same
I
time,
don't feel like with a franchise like this, with a franchise
Right.
that big, them pumping millions of dollars into making a movie just to test the waters.
well, not test the waters,
I
but I'm
think-
saying I think they knew it was gonna make a lot of money.
Yeah,
but I still think that they were like, well, we want a definitive end so that if it doesn't perform the way we think it's going to,
Yeah.
we don't have to. We don't have to have a
We're not
cliffhanger
expected,
ending
yeah.
where people are expecting
there
another
definitely
live
wasn't
action.
a cliffhanger ending.
Okay.
so.
No, there definitely. Well, that was the thing. I wasn't expecting a cliffhanger ending. Like I didn't think it was going to end in a way that oh no, now you got to watch the next one. But I thought that it would still end in a way that there could be more.
be, yeah.
And they end
Yeah.
it in a way that really it's like this story's done. There's like
Yeah.
there's no more story to tell. And I was
But
like,
then again,
wow.
I mean, that's kind of the. But
There's nothing wrong with that.
I was going to say,
Yeah.
but the world of Pokemon's not over. I mean,
no,
you
no,
could come up
that's
with
what I said.
another.
They can make
Yes,
any
like, yeah,
story
yeah.
they want in that world, and I think they will. I think they'll make other Pokemon movies. It's just
It's not. I don't see
It's
how
like,
they could
yeah.
feature Ryan Reynolds and maybe even Justice Smith's character.
Really?
Yeah.
So we're even talking like, I mean, I'm not asking for spoilers or anything because
No,
I haven't seen it, but there's
could
no
not-
Detective Pikachu.
there's.
beyond
I don't
this?
think they could. No,
Yeah.
they could not have Ryan Reynolds as Detective Pikachu and make
Okay.
another
Yeah.
movie.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, all right.
We'll
well,
talk about
that's
it
not-
after.
That's not telling me too much, but
Yeah.
okay,
But,
that's
yeah.
enough. All right. So 3 out of 4 stars for Detective Pikachu.
Yeah.
Definitely worth checking out, would you all say? Especially if you're
Yeah.
a fan.
Yeah, and one of the other
of-
things is you don't have to be a fan of Pokemon. Like I
No.
said, I'm not someone who was indoctrinated into all the
Yeah,
all the
right.
stuff that is Pokemon. Like I've played several hours of Pokemon Go, and someone even pointed out in the comments that I think at some point I did download an emulator and play one of the Game
The
Boy games
Game
for
Boy
like
games.
2 hours and then quit because it's just not. I'm not an RPG kind of
Oh, okay,
person, and
right.
I'm definitely not a turn-based game person. So I didn't enjoy it, but the film had me. And I feel like you could go into the theater and watch this not knowing hardly anything about Pokemon and still come out with a good story and being fully entertained. Because it is a funny movie. And there's a lot of things that happen, I'm sure, that if I was a Pokemon fan, I would have picked up on
Yeah.
and thought it was even better.
But you still enjoyed it
I
regardless.
still
Yeah.
enjoyed it, yeah. And I wanted to go see it just so that I could see if it was appropriate for my son to see, because when you say Ryan Reynolds is in a movie, I'm like, it can't be appropriate. But it definitely is. It's very family friendly, and like Keith said, the morals and the just the
values
of being a parent and putting your work before your kids, and the importance of spending time with your kids and not allowing things to pull you apart or pull you away from your family. Like, it's great.
It
Great
had
lessons
me
there.
choked up.
Yeah.
It did.
Yeah. There's good moments there. So I think anybody should definitely go see it.
Okay. All right.
Everybody
Fantastic.
should go see it.
Everybody should go see it. Fantastic. All right. So go check out Pokemon Detective Pikachu in theaters now. But don't before you allow Endgame to beat Avengers.
I'll buy it when it comes
Or
out.
I'm sorry.
Oh,
Avatar.
no.
Okay.
Yeah, you need to go
need
see
to go see
Avengers
it. No.
3 or 4 more times.
We have to
before
see
you
Avengers
That's
until it beats Avatar, and then after that, go see Detective Pikachu.
That's right.
Yeah.
But now we're gonna move on to some headlines, guys. We got one this week that kind of interested me. There wasn't a whole lot going on,
Yeah.
but there was one that I was a little bit intrigued by. It kind of took me by surprise. So, word on the street is that Brian May made a comment.
What may Brian do?
Yeah. I like how you say the word on the street. like we.
It's like we're in the
Yeah.
know, you know.
We're in the know.
We're out there digging around with our
Yeah, we're out there looking on Google for stuff.
like people don't know that already.
Yeah,
Come on.
yeah.
But the fact is that so Brian May came out with some pretty alarming comments regarding Bohemian Rhapsody, the film that was massive hit, nominated and won several Academy Awards, including Best Actor for Rami Malek. But the fact is that apparently Queen the band has not received any money,
Royalties or
Not
Any
even-
royalties.
Not even a penny.
not one penny of royalties.
Those are Brian May's words. by the way, not
For
ours.
exactly true. This is all hearsay
yeah.
right now. We don't know. Somebody else could come out and say differently, and with proof.
Not
but the fact
even
is,
a
so yeah,
euro.
nothing, no money at all. They've not received one thing from Bohemian Rhapsody. So what are our thoughts on that?
I find it odd. It is strange, I guess. I don't know what deal they struck, because you would think if they're using their music and their name and likeness, they would have had to have paid, because typically anytime you make a movie like that using someone's work, name, likeness, you have to pay them something in order
Yeah.
to do that.
Absolutely.
So I don't know what happened as far as the deal they made, but I would have thought that they would have gotten something.
I would have thought they would have got a lot. It's their music. It's their likeness. It's their names. It's their band.
Yeah.
It's their. They were on set giving pointers
Yeah.
and telling the story, and they probably had a hand in the writing of the story. You had his vocals mixed in with other people's vocals, and I mean, there's a lot there that they should have been paid for. And to have Brian May go on the radio in the BBC and say, well, we haven't received a penny from that.
Okay,
that's crazy to me.
That's what I don't know. I find it a little suspect because I'm like, okay, you spend all these years on the road,
Yeah.
and I'm like, there's plenty of enough content in the movie to kind of showcase their rough go with managers and people they had to deal with before they were huge and famous. And it was like until they proved themselves, and then even once they did prove themselves, they were kind of at a point where they were like, look, it's our say. What say it goes. Yeah. And people finally did start to, trust their opinion. Yeah. And so I'm like, if you've had this much back and forth with managers and producers and dealing with the showbiz, I'm just like, how do you sign a contract or how do you sign a movie deal, especially one as a passion project, to kind of not just for Queen's sake. They didn't put this out there really for Queen to put a spotlight on Queen. No, it was more for Freddie Mercury. Yeah, and it was in an honor of him, a tribute to him. Mm-hmm. So for them to do that for him, and that's the thing. It's like you would think Brian May would be like, oh, well, we didn't want any money. It was all for because there's a lot of people tied to Freddie Mercury who have received royalties. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I'm not saying like that he's selfish or greedy. I'm just saying I find it a little odd that he would be so behind a project and sign contracts without any guarantee of any kind of royalty.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'm just like, I don't know about that.
The article that you linked to did state that it is possible because he said that there's so many other people that have get a certain percentage that they have to work through to get paid first. The article did mention that it could be possible that maybe they get a small percentage and they just haven't worked their way down to it yet. And so that check just hasn't been cut to them. But I mean, you would think as long as it's been out, I mean, it's already won Oscars and
$800 million.
Yeah, you would think
over 900.
Yeah, over 900.
Yeah, it's almost a $1 billion movie.
Yeah.
You would think as long as it's been out and been making money, they would have gotten something if that were the case. Yeah. And I'm not saying they don't. I'm about to say something here as far as their music, but I'm not saying this means they shouldn't have gotten money from the movie. But it did.
I agree.
But
with
it
you
did. What I was going to say is it did bolster their sales.
Oh yeah.
And when the movie came out, people were buying and streaming their music like crazy, which because
Bohemian Rhapsody skyrocketed back to the charts.
Yeah.
And you're telling me they didn't receive any.
So they did get money from that. And I'm not saying that makes it okay for them not to get money from the movie, but it definitely still put money in their pocketbooks in some way.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. They definitely benefited from the movie being as big a hit as
and I think that's kind of when you read the article, his wording isn't anything to do with it boosting their album sales or anything like that. He's specifically saying royalties from the film, we haven't gotten anything. So again, I'm like you though. I can't believe for a second that they didn't sign some kind of a contract saying that. I mean, you're using all of our music. Yeah. You know that. I mean, we're muted in certain countries because of the music in our podcast.
I get a notification every week.
And I'm just like, somebody's getting their money every time their song is played. You can't tell me Queen shouldn't get money every time this movie is rolled. Yeah. I mean, every time someone hears it, every DVD sale, everything, they should be getting something. And I don't think it should be millions and millions of dollars, but they should be getting some kind of a royalty.
Well, and who's to say that they're not? That's really the question.
Right, we're taking his word for it right now.
Right. And not only that, it could have also been in the context. I didn't listen to the interview back and forth. It could have been just an honest question of, he could have been him just answering blatantly, factually, but not saying, "Oh, poor pitiful us, we haven't received anything."
Right. There could be another article tomorrow from the studio that's where they're making comments saying, "Oh no, don't worry about it. They're going to get paid."
Right.
Or where we just haven't cut the check yet.
Exactly.
Or, anything.
It could have just been like, "Hey, as of right now, no, we haven't seen any money from the film, but that's not what we're asking for." Yeah. That's the honest truth. But like you said, Keith, no doubt in my mind, it's like. And not only that, I guess I agree. It's not right if they don't receive any royalties from the film. It's still their likeness. It's still their story. And plus, they were just huge producers, backing the film in general. Yeah. But it is still a question of it's like they remained even more popular after the fact.
Yeah. They don't need the money.
They don't need the money or the notoriety.
You should get paid for it.
Yeah.
And I mean, if they're using your intellectual property, you should get paid for it.
Absolutely.
So.
Agreed.
I don't know.
I agree.
We'll see how it plays out.
Keith, you got any more thoughts?
I'm going to go find Brian May and we'll give him a penny.
Yeah. I'm going to make him get a haircut.
No, I wouldn't.
Well, you heard about what his next cause is, right?
Oh, no.
God,
you didn't hear about this?
I don't know
this is going to be controversial.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I'm going to say it. It wasn't supposed to be one of our topics of the week. So he wants to do another Live Aid.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But with a different cause in mind.
Oh, Lord.
Global warming?
Global warming.
Oh, God.
He wants to do another Live Aid concert for climate change.
Yeah.
What are your all's thoughts on that?
Well, son, I didn't want him to cut his hair, but now I kind of think, well, Brian, maybe you won't be so hot if you cut your hair. So.
Right. His hair is producing carbon dioxide.
all that hairspray he needs to keep it.
Yes,
Yeah.
all the
see?
aerosol that he's putting in
That's
there.
It's
true.
like, come on, Brian, you gotta
Man.
give up the hairspray.
I mean, he's got blonde locks though. He can't be getting that hot. I mean,
Brian May?
Yeah,
His hair's blacker than black.
What? No, it's not.
Brian May has
Brian-
dark hair. He is
Who?
not a blonde-headed guy.
I don't know. Maybe I'm looking at different
He's the lead
pictures.
guitar player with
Who-
black
yeah,
curly
he,
hair.
he
talking
looks like. I swear, he looks like he's got blonde locks.
You're looking at the light shining
I'm
on
looking-
him. It's probably gray.
That's
no, it is. It is
it's-
gray
yes,
now.
It's there.
Gray.
It
His
is.
hair is
See?
completely gray.
Bull.
now,
I'm
but-
like the last picture I saw of Brian
No,
May was
he's
not
always had that
black
dark
hair.
hair.
So yeah, all right. Well then he's got light locks now, so the sun's just
Yeah.
not hitting his scalp as much.
No, yeah, his hair now is gray, but yeah, but in the past it was
May the
brunette.
gray.
Oh yeah. That is What year is that
Brunette,
photo?
But that's not
the
not
light.
blonde.
That's the light shining on him.
Yeah,
That's not blonde.
That's
that's
the
just
light, the
brunette.
that's
backlight.
not blonde, but I'm just saying it's not like that now.
brown.
Look at him now.
Well, no, now it's solid gray.
It's solid gray.
Yeah, look at the guy. He's almost dead. That's,
He is almost dead,
Yeah.
and it's probably
You know
because
what's
of global warming that he's
crazy
almost
though
dead.
is the actors they chose to play each of them looked.
Oh
like,
yeah.
I
Yeah.
love
Oh yeah. The guy that
they
plays
did.
Brian May looks
look
dead
like
up
him.
like him. Yeah.
I mean, I thought the whole band. Yeah.
Yeah. It was very
Yeah.
good.
Honestly, I felt the Rami Malek as Freddie Mercury was fine, but the rest of the cast, as
Were
the rest
better.
of the band,
Yeah.
looked like they were spot on. I was like
Yeah.
that amazed me more than Rami Malek.
Okay.
No, I agree. I
Yeah.
mean,
So Live
you can go
Aid,
back
I mean-
and listen to our
Yeah,
coverage
I
of
think-
Bohemian
I
Rhapsody
don't
when it
know.
launched.
I think it's a major publicity stunt.
I would go.
I think Live Aid
not to
is
support- I would-
neat.
yeah.
I don't even agree with the first Live Aid cause because I'm just like I just don't.
I didn't mind it. I mean, to me, it's like anytime there's a world epidemic, it's to me that I didn't have a problem with the first Live Aid because I thought it had a genuine cause of trying to help people and find a cure. But it was like the reason I have an issue with this is I'm like, I agree with you. I think it's a gimmick, Keith. I think it's just them trying to jump onto a social
it.
cause.
I would
that
go
they're
or-
trying to say, well, we feel like this is the popular
Yeah.
opinion nowadays, and so we're going to use this
Oh, yeah.
as a way to promote ourselves.
I would go
come
or I
on.
would watch it just for the bands, but I wouldn't donate any money.
Right.
So
And maybe that's what he's doing. He's jumping on the bandwagon of like, this is a cause where we know we can get some
Yeah.
big names
Yeah.
What
out
was
to
the
actually
great
perform.
global warming thing Ryan Reynolds did in the Pikachu movie? Do you remember, did you
Oh,
catch that?
yes.
That was
And
hilarious.
it was
but I can't remember
hilarious.
exactly what he says.
I saw what was it when like they were?
It's when
the ground was like
Yes.
wrapping
Yeah,
up around
yeah.
them or something, and he said, and they say global warming's not real or something. It was great.
Yeah, it
Climate
was-
change.
it-
He said,
yeah.
because they were in the I told you about the scene. Because I remember it was similar to me as A Wrinkle in Time, but so much better.
Yeah.
And like the forest around them is like folding up and like everything's shifting, and they're like trying to run and get out of there before
Yeah.
like it collapses on them. And when they finally escape,
Says
he's
maybe
just,
this will finally
he's
make
like
people believe in global warming.
He's like
or
they say
something.
climate change isn't real.
It's really funny.
But no, it was good.
Yeah.
Basically, just poking fun at it.
Poking
right?
fun.
Yeah.
A little bit, yeah.
Poking.
Oh my god.
Okay, we do
Do
have
it.
one more headline that I want to mention.
Do it.
It's kind of a little late,
Uh-huh.
but I think it's worth mentioning.
Uh-huh.
Stanley's ex-manager.
Yeah.
Big news this past week is now charged with elder abuse.
Yeah, it's a little late to charge him after. It's
I know,
like
it's like, dude's dead.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do?
it's
Well, I
like
mean-
he was abusing him while he was alive, and we could have done something about it back then.
Yeah.
But you wait till after he dies, and be like, "Hey, you weren't very nice to him while he was
Yeah.
alive."
yeah,
Well, they say your sin will find you out. So
That's true.
so
whether
it
it's
just-
after the fact or not.
I was
you
gonna
know,
say you just gotta
hopefully-
wait till you're in the afterlife.
I guess. I don't know.
So not much to say on that. That
Well,
was it.
I mean, they had. I was like, they had reported in the past when Stan Lee was alive. I mean, we even talked about it on the podcast.
Yeah.
We
There
did.
were-
We
there was-
followed it forever.
There were some rumors about elder abuse and what had been going on, but nothing was ever substantiated.
See, but that's my
so-
question: is did they,
Have they found
regardless of him
evidence?
being dead, was it just the estate? Was it his estate that was just like, you know what, we're going to try to find repercussions after the fact? That it's like we're going to finally press charges because he is deceased,
Well,
but we
it
still
could be.
want
It
justice.
could be a
I
fact
mean,
that Stan
I
Lee,
don't
while
know.
Stan Lee was alive, he had no desire to press any charges. But once he passed, the estate or the family was just like, no, we know he was being mistreated, and now we're going to press charges. It could be an instance like that.
that's true. All right, very true. But I honestly, I think it's a little too late. I just feel like I don't understand the point.
Well, I mean,
I get it, but it's like, look, what's done is done.
true,
The
but at
man's
least
legacy-
he'll be punished for doing like the guy, the
Yeah, no,
manager.
yeah,
at least will
don't
be
get me wrong.
punished for
I agree.
his wrongdoing.
True, absolutely true. Justice should be served, but I'm just like, at the end of the day,
It
I
didn't
feel
help
like,
Stan Lee any. Yeah.
right. It didn't help him, and I'm like, well, regardless of justice, I'm like, his legacy alone
Yeah.
Oh,
is
yeah.
going to put all this to bed, and
Yeah.
it's like it's not going to matter after a while. It's like, who's really at? To me, it's a dark cloud over a situation that should already kind of be passed on. And,
Yeah.
and when you think about how Captain Marvel started with the ode to
Oh, yeah.
Stan Lee,
That was great.
and then even in Endgame, his like kind of final
Yeah.
filmed appearance, it's like, I mean, like, let the man rest in peace.
Yeah.
And that's the best way I feel like to do it, is to just drop these shenanigans and forget about it. It's like, come on, let's move on.
Yeah. I mean, if it was your grandfather and he died, and then you found out that somebody was abusing him, wouldn't you want somebody
it
to be
for all
punished?
it's
Yeah, I
worth.
guess so. I guess
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
I guess so.
I don't know.
That was it. I'm sorry. I guess I took devil's advocate on that one. I don't know.
Yeah.
Alrighty, guys. I think, man, we're flying through this week's
Buzz.
episode.
I'll fly
buzzing.
through the
Yeah,
world.
buzzing through. Are y'all ready for a unique
Is it
weekly
that?
segment?
Is it that time?
It's that
It's that time.
Multimedia.
Multimedia. Multimedia.
Ooh, multimedia, guys.
Every time I hear that, I just want to watch Revenge of the Nerds.
I know.
And I
That's
keep
where-
saying I'm gonna go home and find that movie, and I just never do.
never
I gotta
do it.
I gotta remind myself tonight. Siri's gonna do
yourself.
a reminder for me.
do it right
So-
now. Do it on the show.
No, I can't. I don't know if she'll do it. Hey Siri, remind me to download Revenge of the Nerds.
Okay, I added download Revenge of the Nerds to your reminders.
There we go.
you go. Perfect.
There
All
we
right,
go.
boom.
She's always
Now
listening.
you won't forget. Did you say when I get home?
No, I didn't.
Because then it'll be like a geofence. It'll
It's
be
okay.
set up around your house.
it's okay.
And you'll get it when you
It's
get
okay.
home.
I'll get it. Trust me.
No, you won't.
Tonight's
too late.
Tonight's the night.
We're gonna get back to the next multimedia segment, and you're gonna say it again, and it'll be like, "You idiot! I've already reminded you once,"
Yeah.
and that's what's gonna happen.
Okay. Well, we'll see.
All right, this week's multimedia topic.
Yes.
is it?
It could be a little boring, but I think it could be a little interesting too.
Okay.
It really depends on which direction we take it.
Yeah, let's go. Let's hear it.
The question is there's been a lot of talk in the media.
Well, there's always a lot of talk in the media.
That's true. So what else
That's
does
what
that
they
mean?
do. That's what they
Exactly.
do. That's their
But the
job.
question is Facebook too big? Does Facebook need to be broken up?
No, I mean it only
The
takes
big
up
social
200
media conglomerate?
200 megabytes on my phone. It's not that big.
Yeah. It's
Oh,
not-
okay.
yeah.
You're right.
It is. It is.
Well, that's our show this week. Thanks for joining us.
It is. But before we really get into it, I just want to say it is always funny because this happens to I think every company that starts, because I mean people have done this with Disney. It's like anytime a company starts getting that massive and starts purchasing other properties. I mean even when the merger with Fox was going through, people were like, no, this can't happen. That'll be a monopoly, and Disney's just getting too big. So I mean I guess I'm playing devil's advocate now in the fact that it's just that it is funny how people immediately panic over that.
Right.
But I do think there are some good points as to Facebook becoming too big. That I believe with the co-founder that's
Yeah.
the one saying that it needs to be broken down, and that being that
But see, do you think that is really just because he's kind of not in the
Jealous?
spotlight anymore?
Yeah.
And it's like he has no
Yeah.
control over the whole situation, so he's
Partly,
just
yeah.
kind of like, I don't like Mark Zuckerberg, and I don't want him to continue.
No,
with
you
his
sound like Mark
success."
Zuckerberg, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
true.
Mark
He
Zuckerberg.
does.
do a different one.
Well, because I get his point in that Facebook is buying up other social media platforms like Instagram and
Yeah.
there was one that I don't recognize. I guess was it Sky or something? I don't know something. I guess I'm getting too old
Yeah.
now. I don't know all
It was
these social
the
media.
it's a British
Yeah,
Another-
social media,
yeah.
but I forget what it is. What it does.
I don't know it, so I don't care about it. No, but,
Wow.
Right, yeah.
right. No. So I mean, I get his point that it's like you can't sign into like any social media platform almost anymore without like Mark Zuckerberg having his finger on it. But at the same time, that's not entirely true. I mean, they don't own Twitter.
Not yet.
Not yet. Yeah.
If it keeps going down the tubes, because
And I don't know whatever
uses
happened
Twitter.
to
Yeah.
Google social. What was that called? I have one. I
What is
haven't
it?
signed in.
Google
Google's-
Plus?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, that's
that.
gone.
That's
Yeah.
over with.
I was
Yeah.
like that.
Nobody uses
That
that.
fizzled out like instantly. I
You
mean,
want to join my circle?
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to hang out?
It disappeared long before Thanos ever snapped his fingers. So,
Ouch.
yeah, it did. But I don't know. I mean, I guess I feel like it's fine. I mean, it is creepy to know that you're always being watched.
But
But I mean,
but
that's
here-
anything in
and
the internet.
I was gonna say the real question here is, and it's odd because I'm kind of on both sides. The fact
Yeah,
of the
no,
matter
that's how I
is
feel.
look, we all willingly sign up for these social
we
media
elect to
platforms.
use it.
We
Yeah.
elect to, but the fact is that now that it's so ingrained, not only in our culture and our society, but then the fact of the matter is because so many other companies are like, hey, this was a great idea, and now we're going to pay Facebook to use your info, and then you have to sign an agreement to be like, oh yeah, you can privately go in and change settings and lock certain things down, and and regardless of people not being responsible with their privacy or not, all that being said, it's like nobody really knew to the extent
Yeah.
at which other
what Facebook was
well,
allowing.
yeah, what
people
Facebook
to
was
access,
going to
yeah.
become,
Yeah.
and then the fact that all these other companies were going to use it, and I got to be honest with you, I think that's the reason Facebook is as big as it is. I mean, the reason why they continue to be such a threat is because their business model is not just ad revenue from things that it's all these businesses and other companies using that platform
Right, yeah.
and all the eyes that are glued to it and all the willing effort of its participants to say, here's all my information and I'm
Yeah.
just going to put it out there.
Well-
But with that being the case, if you started a Facebook account 10 years ago and it was just for social media, now 10 years later, this is the threat that you have facing you, it is kind of a question of what is our social responsibility now for all of those who may be, I don't want to say too stupid because, again, it's your choice.
Before you say that,
But, yeah.
though, you've got to understand if you want to go in and change your privacy settings, you're going like 20 menus deep
Yes.
in order to do
Yes.
that.
It is a pain in the butt.
Secondly, when you sign up for Facebook, nobody reads the 3,000 page agreement. That
Again,
But
that's
they would
your,
say that's your fault.
Yeah, that's
but
your
who's
fault.
going to do that?
I
They
mean,
knowingly
I do that
they-
now, even with my iPhone and everything.
I
Everything I,
know
sign
that,
into,
and I know
never
that.
read the
And
terms and
that's
conditions.
actually come up when Zuckerberg went before Congress or whatever, and they grilled him. That's one of the things Ted Cruz asked him. He was just like, "Do you realistically believe that anybody on this planet is going to read this 400-page or whatever user agreement before they sign up and basically sign all their photos, all their media, all their personal information away to you?" And he says, "Well, no, they're not going to read
But
it."
legally,
And
he's still covered because
I
he
know
has
he
that in
is
there.
covered
Yeah.
legally, yes, but morally, it
But see,
should be
okay,
right up front.
Well, and here's the thing, and this is why this is truthfully why I kind of don't want them to be broken up, because just like with their live videos and with other things that they've covered before and gotten in trouble with, there's been times where Facebook has willingly reached out and said, no, anything that's posted on our social media platform isn't yours, it's ours. And so I'm like, okay, so does that mean then that now you're liable and I can hold you responsible
Yeah.
to the extent that if something devastating, like let's say just yesterday, the shooting that happened in Australia.
Yeah.
And it's like they're putting tighter restrictions on live video. And granted, maybe Facebook is too big to fail in that sense. Maybe they have so much gravity or so much reach that they could fight it with their power of that reach or the money that they have. I mean, their pocketbooks are still not endless,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but they're pretty damn deep.
Yeah.
And they've got so many ties to other things that it's kind of one of those things where it's like you break one thing, it's a domino effect after
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
And so to me, the question still is, okay, fine. If you don't want to be broken up, you're still going to have to be held responsible
Yeah.
No,
for
yeah.
the things then that that people are going to try to pin on you. And I think that's where Mark Zuckerberg has come under fire, and that's where he has taken the grilling on the congressional floor.
Yeah, yeah.
But still,
I think one of the reasons that and we talked about it earlier, one of the main arguments for breaking up Facebook, because it's getting so big, was the fact that they're focused more on growing this company and getting rich, that they're taking less focus off of security, and that's why we had Russians hacking in on Facebook and messing with elections and all that. And I know he's under a lot of fire for that, but they're basically trying to say your focus has been on getting big and getting rich, and not on tightening down the security.
True,
and
but
doing all
then
this
again,
stuff.
I think that's the argument that they would say. Well, to an extent, Mark Zuckerberg wants to save face as a PR stunt and as an HR stunt, and say,
yeah.
well, we're going to tighten restrictions. We're going to
Yeah.
work on that. But then again, regardless of whether or not him saving face with public and the people who use it, is that his responsibility? is his responsibility to stop. I mean, the fact is he allows people to use his platform, and that's why I say it's his responsibility if they come out and say we own that content
Yeah.
now.
No, I agree.
Then it is.
Go ahead.
I was just saying, yeah. If they're saying anything you post on Facebook belongs to me, then yes, then it's your responsibility to have tighter security and to make sure that certain things don't get out there. That is because I'm with you. I'm kind of on both sides. We willingly use it. Regardless of whether we read all of the stuff or not, we willingly use it. But it should be, if they're going to take that case that anything I put on there is theirs, then they need to make the security features easily accessible. Not like you can't get it, like Sean said, you can't go on the Facebook and easily do anything. They bury other than making posts and videos, and all the settings are a pain in the butt to find and change. And
even then, it's like half the time, it's like you click on one thing and think, oh, I'm private. And then there's another little thing that's like, well, no, but you're not. No, you still got to select this box
And if you
to
wanna-
keep you from going to that
If you want to
service,
download your
you
personal
know?
data, it takes them like a week to give that to you.
Yeah.
Like you can go to, I want to download my personal data. They have that available now. They didn't used to, but now you can. And you can basically download everything that they're able to see or that they're putting out there for everyone else to see. But it doesn't let you do it immediately. It's like you'll hear from us in 7 to 10 days with a zip file or whatever, and you might get it, you might not. I'm just like, even your own personal data is not available immediately like it should be. And I don't agree with that. The Yahoo's picture thing that I used to use, Flickr, that's the same way. If you want to download all of your photos and stuff off of there, because they've changed a lot of their policies, so your content is now theirs to do whatever they want with. If it isn't copyrighted, they can sell your photos and your videos and make money off of it if you haven't copyrighted it or stamped it or whatever.
And see, that's a dangerous aspect, because the minute that Facebook and Flickr and these places are saying, no, all that content's ours, is the minute that if Brandon goes on there and starts spouting some crazy, racist or any nonsense, it's like, well, that's libel.
Yeah.
That's not, if it's just his social media account and he's posted something stupid, it's like, well, it's his opinion. We can't do nothing about it. We apologize that he's being so crass. But the minute that's theirs, it's like, well, no, that's your responsibility.
No, exactly.
And,
But no. But then it's not on me anymore.
No, then
Now,
it's not on you
now,
at all.
now, I was going to say, now it's
on
Facebook. It's Facebook
Exactly.
saying, we're going to ban this account because he said these things we disagree with. And it's like, oh, wait a sec. So now you're saying you do own the content.
Right.
So now you're saying that it is your responsibility. And that's where I'm like, look.
They want their cake and eat it too.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. And
Yeah.
I was going to say, to some degree, I'm kind of willingly to say, fine, Facebook, you take that responsibility.
Right.
But then when you do get grilled or when you do get questioned about what steps are you taking to prevent some of these disasters and some of these horrible situations that occur in society because of how big you are, it's like, at the end of the day, at what point do we put the onus on them, or do we put it on ourselves for trusting them?
Yeah.
That's really the moral of the question here. And at what point are we willing to kind of, forego that responsibility ourselves and try to point the finger at them, or are we going to elect as a society and say, no, social media is a choice,
Yeah.
and we elect to use it, and because of that, we ourselves have to be
More
responsible.
responsible, yeah.
And honestly, I fall more into that category than the other. But also, I agree. It's like, I'm not going to freaking read a 400-page terms of and condition or terms of agreement. I'm just not. It's not practical.
Yeah.
And it's like, and all these companies know it.
Yeah.
But yet, I go into Walmart, I go into Apple, I go into any store,
anything you say,
and
yeah.
I'm doing the exact same thing there.
Yeah.
It's just because of the amount of reach and the amount of power that Facebook has. But again, that power is there simply because we elect to give it to them.
Yeah. Well, my biggest problem with Facebook, and I don't believe that it needs to be broken up. I don't think the government should have any kind of power over social media or these kind of things. But one of the things that really bothers me, that I think it plays into the same thing with Facebook saying that this is our property or it's not our property, is the censorship. And we know a lot of the talk shows and podcasts and websites and stuff like that Republican or conservative audiences look at are being extremely censored on Facebook and YouTube and things like that. And they claim to be this open forum, so they're claiming that everything you put on there, it's not ours. It's an open forum for anybody to.
Right.
But then they're censoring it.
Exactly.
So if you're censoring it, then you're saying that it is yours, and you can do with whatever you want with
Exactly.
it.
Because
And
it doesn't follow your ideals.
Right. Facebook is hiding that, or they're tiptoeing around it. See,
Well, this
I hate
goes back
Twitter.
to the having your cake and eating
I
it
hate
too.
Twitter because I don't agree with what's his name, Dorsey.
I can't remember the
Jack,
the leader's name or the CEO. I
the
can't
owner.
remember.
He come right out and said, like, if I don't want it on Twitter, I'll delete it.
And here's
like,
the
I mean,
thing.
so
Honestly,
he's open
I'd
about
be
that.
fine with that.
Yeah, that's fine.
Because look, that's the reason why I believe Twitter is going
Right.
downhill.
It's going,
is
yeah,
because
it will.
people get to the point where it's like, if you're going to police what I say,
Right.
then it's
There's
not
no freedom
a
of
tr-
speech.
there-
It's
exactly.
not an open forum.
There
You're
i-
claiming that it's your platform and you
Right.
can do with what you want with it. So people are going to exit.
Right.
But Facebook is claiming that it's not a controlled platform.
Right.
But they're controlling it.
Exactly.
And that's where I kind of feel like, well, if you're gonna do that, if you're gonna say it is one thing and
Right.
act another way, then maybe there does need to be someone policing Facebook. If you're
Absolutely.
not going to police it, then someone else needs to.
Absolutely.
And again, I don't think that should necessarily be the government, but I think maybe there needs to be
Well,
a
but
restructuring in Facebook.
No, I think it should be the government because that's kind of what they're elected to do.
Well, I agree.
Overall, when
You're-
it comes
you're
to the
impeding
protection,
one of our amendments, so
yeah,
you know,
and
I don't.
But that's the thing is exactly. It's like we're protecting our rights as citizens, and it's like when
Yeah.
Facebook gets too big to
Yeah.
the point where it has that power to
It's a big
encroach on
brother.
our rights.
It's a big brother.
It
and
becomes
that's
more
what I
powerful
don't
than the
want.
government itself, and that is kind of the whole point of them being combative
Yeah.
against it.
Yeah.
So in that regard, I do understand I understand the continued conversation of oversight.
Yeah.
And I understand the concerns that the co-founder raised with Facebook being too big. I think the co-founders raising those points kind of because it is a popular
I
opinion
think
right now.
the co-founder
with
needs
the
to
Russian
make something better in
Yeah.
Facebook.
right.
Yeah.
Well, but that's the whole point. Is it's like, look, he's jumping into
Yeah.
the game because his putting his name at the forefront to kind of get some popularity and say, well, it's easy to throw daggers at the biggest kid in the room, and it's like that's what Facebook is right now. And with all the Russia investigation and everything that they
Yeah.
had to do with it, and people blaming them,
That's really what has kind of brought this to light. Is,
Right.
You know, somebody lost an election, and it really comes down to why, how many excuses can we come up with
to pin
and-
it on
and,
someone
yeah,
else,
to pin it
other
on
than
something else.
Zuckerberg did it.
It's all his fault.
he deleted the servers. I'm
That's-
just saying
he
It was-
probably did.
They were Facebook servers.
Facebook servers.
No, but I agree. I think I think as long as we keep the dialogue open,
Yeah.
and I think the continued conversation of just being skeptical of, it is our real ultimate responsibility of how much we put out there.
Yeah.
I'm not about to just throw my entire life on social media because I think everybody, and we that's the one thing I love about the movie Social Network.
Yeah.
Is when he gets on there and it finally starts to take off and he still feels bad about how he treated this one girl. And I know it's a fictional story, but he sees her in a bar, he goes up to her and she's like, you didn't write that and you wrote it on the internet. That's not writing it in pencil, that's writing it in ink.
Yeah.
And it's like once it's out there on the internet, it's done.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I think having that careful consideration and understanding the severity of the issues, and that's why I'm okay with this dialogue still being on the table.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not quite ready to be like, oh yeah, I fear Facebook so much because I'm fearful that they're gonna, be the police state and come knocking on my door and busting into my house,
Right.
and taking over.
They
like,
could
no,
take the
I'm
Red
not-
Moon podcast off of.
They could.
YouTube
They very
or
well
Facebook
could.
Live.
They
Yeah.
could. And honestly, I'd say, look, if that's your platform, that's Mark Zuckerberg's platform, and I would have no problem with that if that's the way they wanted to do things, because I really do think that the reason why they've stuck around for so long and they've become the most popular social media platform is because they haven't
done it
policed. And I think as
until
long
recently.
as they continue, if they continue to have that open door policy of saying we allow everybody of all kinds on our platform and do as little as policing as possible,
Yeah.
I think, but then again, that's where you also invite the problems of, but that could
Right. Like you talked about with
know,
Australia. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Australia and foreign governments getting involved. It's like you are opening yourself up to that criticism.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, alrighty, guys, we'll keep tabs on that.
Man,
Woo, we kinda-
interesting.
We'll keep
That was-
checking the
good.
word on the street.
you just giving me shit.
No,
man.
I like that. I liked it. Made us sound important.
Yeah, we're always digging.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We have
And-
people out there
Digging.
That's right.
digging for us.
But if they were out there digging for us and they found information, what could they do?
Keith, how about you answer that question this week?
Well, if you found some good info that you'd like to share with us, feel free to email us at rmpodcast@redmoonproductions.com.
What?
Where?
rmpodcast@redmoonproductions.com. Do we have it up? Is it right
It's
here
right
yet?
there. Oh
right
my
there.
goodness.
Yeah, see that? You go right there and you email us.
Wow. That's amazing. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Sean,
Technology.
did you hear that?
I did. I'll repeat it, though. I think it was
Sure.
RMPodcast@redmoonproductions.com.
That's it.
Production. Yeah, you go into production.
Productions. Okay.
Yeah.
That's right, guys. So until next time.
We're all sitting here like,
There's like a new saying we want to get
Yeah,
into
we're
the
trying
end of
to
the
get
show,
into
and we
people's heads,
always
but
end up missing.
we don't
it.
have
It's
it in our
terrible.
heads yet.
We're not on cue with one another.
I get on you every week about it, but
But I don't know what to do. Like, I forget. You got to remind me, Sean. So how do we do this? Do I wrap it up with my name and then your all's names?
yeah,
No.
yeah, you close this out,
Okay.
and then before
Keith says his
before
final little
Keith
statement?
says his gibberish, then yeah.
Okay.
I have no gibberish to say today.
What?
I have no gibberish to say today.
Now
my
I'm disappointed.
God.
Yeah.
Well, what did we even do this for?
I don't know.
I'm really disappointed.
I
now.
know.
That's a good thing we're ending early.
Well, then I guess I'll just end it like normal.
Do it.
Until next time, I'm one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host,
Sean Sebastian.
And so until next time, guys,
We'll
see
see
you
at the
at the
movies.
movies.
We suck at this.
We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. For more reviews, previous podcast shows, and everything Red Moon, visit our website, redmoonproductions.com. You can also like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter by searching for Red Moon Productions, LLC. We'll see you at the movies.